Hello, and welcome back to the Holistic Hatha Yoga podcast. I am Kelsey, and I'm here to break it down with you and talk about some fun stuff. Today, as I promised, we're going to cover some mantras and just talk about mantra, how to use it, and just kind of break that down. It's known as like the highest form of prayer in Hatha Yoga. It's just a way to really tap into lots of different things as far as different energy, tap into source, tap into just your deepest and highest self all at once. And mantras are a very powerful way to do that. So I'm not talking about like self affirmations. I'm not talking about just saying like I am happy, and that's your like mantra. Like that stuff I'm sure works, and you can program yourself any way that you want to doing stuff like that, but that is not what we're discussing today. I am discussing ancient mantras that have been written for thousands of years and that have been chanted for thousands of years by others before us. And that is part of what makes this so powerful and makes these mantras so powerful, because they're so ancient, because they're preserved in Sanskrit, in one of the very first languages that we even know of as a human species. And yeah, it's super magical. So it's funny. I broke out my yoga notes for this discussion to just see if there's anything I needed reminding of within Om and mantras and such. And I opened to this page, and I found exactly what I was looking for today. And I was like, oh, perfect, this is it. The funny thing is, though, is that this is written on April 10th, 2015. And today is also April 10th, 2025. So I'm finding it very, very synchronatic. That's not a word. I find this a very interesting synchronicity that I've felt the calling to talk about this today. And then I pull out my notes, and this is exactly what I was talking about exactly 10 years ago today in India. So this is a really fun discussion, and let's dive in. So I think the easiest and best mantra for anybody to start with when coming to meditating or anything along those lines is Om. You can spell that two different ways. It is either O-M or A-U-M. Doesn't matter either way. Same. Because originally it's in Sanskrit, it is a symbol, and you probably are all familiar with the Om symbol. It looks similar to a 3 with a little loop-de-loop on the side and like a little thing on top with a dot. But that is the Om symbol. So it really doesn't matter how we spell it in English, because truly Om is that. That is Om. And that is how we pronounce it, is Om. So just don't worry about the spelling. Let's move on. Anyway, but Om is said to be the highest prayer to rapidly lead us towards our goal. What's our goal? In yoga, our goal is to reach samadhi, to reach that place where we understand that there is just this all-pervading oneness and that we're part of, and that we are not separate from that. And that being said, to live our life in a way that we feel that we are serving in our highest good out of love, serving our communities. I really love Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're amazing, but in one of their songs, they say nothing better than love and service. And that is very much like a yogic, Buddhist, like Eastern way of thought, as far as like, we're just here for love and service. Like, that's what we're here to do. And in turn, like, we also receive that from everything else. I mean, we are very much supported by the earth itself. It supports us under our feet. It allows us to build things on top of it. It provides us with water and earth and sunshine and everything we need to grow food and be prosperous. So, Om is really just the idea of that, the idea that we're all here and we're all part of the same fabric. And with that, with that lens, we have to look at our fellow humans through the lens of compassion. Even when people are acting a fool and being assholes, it's like we need to understand like that's their journey. This is what they're going through. We can still act out of love and service towards them. However, obviously, like not out of harm to oneself. Like if you just need to remove yourself from that situation, like go ahead. Like that's the best way to act with it. It's not to fight against it or to try to diminish one person. It's to literally just walk away and do your duty. And so Om can be considered a prayer, it can be considered a mantra, it can just be considered something to help center yourself and bring you back to your own inner being. I've used Om for a long, long, long time. I've had some of the most profound meditations just using the Om mantra because it is so consistent and it is just so simple, that it really can allow yourself to go to those real depths, breaking through all the sheaths of the soul to that really central light. And it's beautiful. It's quite magical. And this is where it's really helpful to have a mala. If you don't know what a mala is, I don't know why I said it like that. Mala? Anyway, a mala it looks like a necklace, and it's basically the yogic equivalent to like the rosary. I should say, honestly, that the Christian rosary is modeled after the mala because the mala came first, bitches. Anyway, so essentially, if you know what a rosary is, it's used in the Catholic religion to during prayer, and there's certain number of beads, and you're supposed to do a certain number of one prayer, and then a certain number of another prayer, and this, that, the other, and slice your arm off, drip some blood, and you're done. I'm teasing about the blood part, but maybe not. I don't know that. Maybe the higher ups actually do that. I have no idea. I'm teasing. I'm not going to start any weird conspiracies about Catholic religion. They have enough shit going on their own. Moving on, a mala has 108 beads. And 108 is a sacred number in Hinduism and in Eastern philosophy. There's that's a whole rabbit hole in itself. So if you want to dive into that, go right ahead. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras talk about 108 a lot as well. On full moons, it's very well known for yogis to do 108 sun salutations on those days, and that's always very fun. I love to do that, so if you've never tried that, give it a shot. And if you're like, how the fuck do you count 108 sun sals? And actually my teacher Stephanie taught me this amazing method, and I loved doing it, and maybe I'll do a workshop one day where we just have fun and do this. But everyone gets given 11 rocks, and you put them on your left side of your mat, and you do sun salutations, and then you count in your head. But once you get to 10, you take a rock and you move it from the left side over to the right side. And then you start counting from 1 again. And so basically you just count in tens, and you move these 10 rocks over to your other side. And then on that 11th rock, I guess you don't need 11 rocks. You only have 10. And then after the 10 rocks are over there, you've gotten to 100, and you only need to do 8 more. So if you ever want to try that out, give it a shot. 10 rocks on one side, count by tens. Every time you get a 10, move a rock over and just start over from 1 again. And then after the 10 are over to the left side, count to 8, or do 8 more sun cells, and you've gotten to 108. And you'll feel fucking amazing. So let me know if you do it, and let me know your experience. Anyway, back to 108 in the mala. So when we chant or when we do mantras, ideally the you would get through an entire mala, and that it sounds like a lot, but it really doesn't take that long. But the mala is super helpful because obviously while you're sitting there in meditation, eyes closed, you can just hold the mala, and then with each om, you just move your fingers a bead and you go all the way around. And there's a little tassel that represents the beginning and the end of that time. So once you get all the way around the circle or the mala and end back at that tie point, then you know that you're done. And then you can just kind of like take a few breaths, center it, sit in that vibration for a few minutes if you can, and then slowly like work yourself out of it, So yeah, so that is, essentially how you could start using the Om mantra and what you should, or what not should, I don't like to should on people or myself, but how you can try that. And so, I don't know, like check anywhere for a mala. A mala doesn't need to be anything fancy, just as long as it has those 108 beads. I'm sure you could look at Etsy and find a bazillion different types of a bazillion different price points. It really doesn't matter. I have a moonstone mala that I love. I was given that mala by my dear friend Gabby when I was in India in 2012, and I've had that mala forever. So I use that, well, not obviously not forever. I've had it for 13 years. Let's get real. But I do love that mala. I have a few others. I have a tiger's eye one. I have a yellow one that my friend Ange gave to me in 2015. So I've had that one for about 10 years. And yeah, it really doesn't matter what you use, just as long as you have something to keep your counts. So that is how you use a mala when you are trying to practice mantras. And like I said, I think the easiest one to start with is Om, because everybody can remember that. It's nothing difficult. It's not like a bunch of long words. It's a very simple situation. And so I wanted to kind of break down like the sound of Om, and how to recite it. And another note, I guess, right before I get into that is just that, like, we're just making the sound here. And if it makes it easier to just make it meaningless, make it meaningless. Don't be like, oh, I'm diving into the all-pervading, everlasting, infinite moment of life, eternal. Like, chill out. Like, just like let your mind focus on Om and let that mean nothing and see what comes up for you, like see that. Because like it's kind of like if you're chasing the butterfly, you'll never catch it. But if you sit lightly, the butterfly will just come to you. This is kind of very much the same way. And so, yes, I know I already like tied a massive meaning to the word Om, but that's because I have also experienced and felt that through the meaninglessness to start, if that makes any sense. And so a good way to like explain Om as well is like it's the ever-pervading sound of the universe. It's in yogic tradition they say it's actually the unstruck sound, which is very interesting. I think that's really pretty because it's like it never started and it never ended. It's just like it just is, and it's just like that vibration that we're all existing within. Om is also very well used by Buddhists as well. So this is not just yoga, but it's very much a Eastern of Eastern descent, I would say. Anyway, so while you're just reciting and repeating that, you're just sitting with it, understanding that we're all just creatures here on the same path in different ways, So anyway, in this practice, you can break it down to almost like 3 syllables. So that's why I think it's helpful to look at it as like AUM in your brain if you're that kind of person. Because then you can kind of break down that there's like kind of a lower part, there's a middle part, and there's an end. It's a three part word almost, even though it's just one. There's like a ah, like a ah, ooh, and so that's kind of how we're chanting it. And then also, a nice, I don't know, a nice thought, a nice visualization for this as well is basically you can imagine, if you're familiar with chakras, it's the seven energy centers of our bodies, and they run along our spinal cord from the very base, like the tailbone, all the way up to the crown of the head. And in yogic philosophy, our spinal cord holds like our sacred energy, essentially. And we have three channels that go throughout the spinal cord. We have the Ida and the Pingala, and those are like I think the Pingala is the left side, and the Ida is the right side. And then you have the middle part, which is the Shushma. And that is basically like the channel that we move our energy up. And that is how we move our Kundalini energy, our prana, up through the energy centers, igniting each center, becoming, a fully aware and awakened being. As you hit each center, you kind of activate new things. And then as you get to the crown chakra and the 1,000-petaled lotus, you have, so, quote unquote, reach enlightenment. Because you have now like lit up your entire and all of your energy centers, and you're at this place of understanding and oneness. So I don't know if I said it right, but the Pingala is on the right side, the Ida is on the left side, and the Shushma moves right up the middle. So we're trying to move our energy up the Shushma, up through our chakras, and like really light it all up. Light this bitch up. No, I'm teasing. But like truly though, bring energy to all points of your body. And so it's a nice visualization for me to really feel the Om and imagine it also. And when I start my Om, I imagine it starting at the very base of my spine, of my tailbone, in our root chakra. And as I move through that word, Om, I imagine that energy moving right up along that spinal cord, hitting each one and lighting each fire along the way as it hits each center point. And then as I'm at the of Om at the end with that M, we are putting our tongue on the roof of the mouth through that humming, and that is also activating our brains it's activating our pineal gland, and which is our third eye, and it's really sending that energy upwards and out, and it's getting that full connection, that full circuitry going on within our body, mind, and spirit, also connected to the outer, because everything that we have on the outer is a reflection of our inner. And so I love to use that and kind of use that visualization as I'm moving through I can demonstrate here in just a moment, but you take a deep breath, and then when you start, it's just a And with that part, again, like I said, putting that tongue to the roof of the mouth, really letting that vibration move everything through. This also activates the vagus nerve, which helps us move into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest, and it helps us get into the delta and theta brain waves, which is basically where we're at most peace and can also be the most influential with our world, with our words, and with our energy, and the most direct. and clear, and kind of with our own personal authority show up for life. And so I think that's super important for all of us to be speaking from that place of our like true, calm, centered, authentic self. Because when you're rooted there, like nothing can be shaken. And also when you're rooted there, all of your actions tend to be, I don't want to say right action, but it's definitely not wrong action. You know, you're not doing things out of fear. You're not doing things out of malice. You're not doing things out of jealousy. You're literally moving from a place of love, of a place of wanting to do your best and wanting everyone else to also live their best and highest self. And so from that place, really only good things can happen. You know, only positivity. I don't want to say only positivity. That sounds lame. But like, you'll be moving in a wonderful direction is all I'm saying. And so, yeah, just kind of imagining through that, just it's moving up through the spinal cord, slowly up through the chest, up through the throat, up through the crown of the head. And if you can just imagine that, and then as you finish your and then just taking that deep breath, and as you take that deep breath, bringing that awareness back down to the root chakra, and then exhaling that up through the crown of the head, letting that energy leave the crown of the head and rotate right back down to the root chakra where it comes back in and moving up. And this is how we can take our own prana, our own energy, and start to do essentially what we do in Kundalini, which is moving that energy upwards. Upwards, upwards, upwards. So we're not working out of our root chakra energy, which is very much like animalistic survival mode. We want to move out of that mode all the way up towards the root chakra where we're acting in more alignment with our hearts and our minds and our spirit. So it's almost, yeah, like this big circle that goes up and out and around. And it's like, it turns it into like a spherical, energy exchange between you and just the world around you through the breath, through the sound, and through meditation. And so you can imagine doing this repetitively, this So that was like just 3 for an example to show you like a repetition, but you can imagine with going on, I mean, I feel fucking high from just doing that, to be honest. Like, whoa, that, like, it's just so powerful. It is so powerful. Like, even just take a pause this and like give yourself 3 ohms like I just did and tell me, and like, again, put your, like the tongue to the roof of the mouth and stuff during the M's. Tell me you don't feel fucking high afterwards. Or tell me that you don't feel a shift. Tell me you don't feel different, because I promise you will. Like, it's inevitable. Like, it's physics, essentially. It's what it comes down to. And so, and I think also the beautiful thing about this, I do think it's very important and very beneficial to Om aloud. At first, try it. And I understand sometimes like, well, the only time I can meditate, this is happening or that's happening or like whatever. And I don't want to be vocal. That's fine. Like, you can also Om in your brain the exact same way that we just did through but again, you have to like Oming through the exhales. And again, visualize it moving up from the base of the spine up through the crown of the head. And then taking a nice inhale, and then again in the mind, Oming on that exhale. So you can do this mentally. But like I said, if you've never done it before, if it's something brand new to you, I think to feel the full power and benefit of it, definitely do it aloud the first times. And it doesn't even have to be that loud. You could kind of just like whisper, like barely saying it to yourself, like, it can be quiet. And so you can try that. And then also, I think after you do feel that and you do, a few malas of that, like not at once, obviously, but like over days, weeks, months, whatever. Move into doing it silently and just doing it in your head. I will say it's a little bit more difficult it can be more difficult to stay on track if you're doing it in your head. Because the monkey mind, as yogis call it, kind of likes to jump in there and just start like thinking of other things. It's like, oh, what about for dinner tonight? What are we doing this? And no. The mental chatter can start. So you do have to be a little bit more attentive to stay focused on the word Om and just repeating the word Om and nothing else while you're doing it in your head if you're going to do it mentally. Because it's just a little bit easier to get sidetracked. Where when you're doing it out loud, vocally, physically, it is taking like your physical body to do it as well, and you're feeling it. You're feeling the vibration. And so I think it's a lot easier to kind of get into it when you do vocalize it. But if you can't vocalize in that moment, it's totally fine to do it in your head. And as you move on and on, ideally you'll probably only be saying it in your head and whatever. But never forget the power that you have to just tap in when using the word Om. Like if you're not feeling great, if you're just like, my fucking vibe's off, I need to shake it off. Like, do that, shake it off, because actually physically shaking does get rid of some of that nervous energy. And jumping and, letting your arms slack and throw around and, like all of that movement is great stuff. After you do that, sit, come to a seated position, then come to your Oms, recenter your energy, rechannel your energy, recalibrate your energy, bring your vibration back to that point that you are feeling good with. And you'll be amazed. You can do it in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, totally like just completely change your whole vibes, everything, and move it in a better direction. So keep this one in your back pocket for any of those shitty days or whatever. You just wake up in the morning and you're like, "Blah, this is just not my day today." Come to meditation. Just come to your seated position, do some Oms, realize how fucking magical it is to be on this earth as a human in this time, in this day and age. And kind of contemplate that meaning of Om, in our place in the universe. I think a big part of why we have so much, anxiety and things like that in our world right now is because we have so much free time. It's so easy. Life is so easy. And I'm not trying to say that from like an entitled place or whatever, because fucking I get it. Shit's expensive. Shit's hard. Whatever. I understand that. However, in the grand scheme of things, I can turn on a light. Like I can just turn my light on. Boom. And now I have light in this room. If it was dark, and I can do whatever I want. I can read, I can write, I can do whatever. I'm not like going to the kerosene lamp and making sure we have enough kerosene so that I can like actually work by the light and whatever. I don't have to worry about going to a well or to a spring to fetch water for my family every day for baths and for general use and things. Like we have indoor plumbing, I don't have to, make sure that I'm on my shit for my garden, even though I'd like to be, because I know that there's a grocery store where I can actually get some food if I need it, and I don't have to produce that myself. So we have a lot of extra free time that humans, even 100 years ago, did not have. I was just watching Tombstone the other night because, one, I fucking love that movie, and two, Val Kilmer just passed away. R.I.P. Val Kilmer. Loved him. He was a huge like childhood crush of mine. But he's Doc Holliday in Tombstone, and I fucking love that role. Like, he's amazing. Absolutely, I love that fucking movie. I love him. I love Kurt Russell. I love the whole thing. It's lovely. But I mean, that movie is in like 1890, about is where it takes place in, Arizona. And like, we barely had shit then. We barely had indoor plumbing. That was only for the rich. We did not have electricity. I was still working on kerosene. We did not have indoor heating. You better have a fucking fire going. You better have fucking wood. Like, there were so many things that we had to be concerned about and worried about, and, well, not even worried about, but just like shit we had to get done 100 years ago and prior, all of humanity prior to that, just to survive and just to, make it through the day, and just to try to stay as healthy as you possibly could and live for the next day. We don't have it quite as difficult anymore. We do have a lot of free time where we're like, we don't have to, spend hours and hours of our days doing these things to maintain our life. And that gave us a lot of hours to like be bored, to be like, man, this is lame. And it's like, fucking get real, bitch. Like, understand what's going on here. You being bored is a fucking luxury. Like, get real. Come on now, So, and it's with that boredom, that beautiful things get created. That's where creativity comes from, is boredom and problems. Solving a problem and trying to make something more beautiful. Just having that space to be creative and to not have to worry about survival. That's where creation can actually come in. And there's actually a Chili Peppers song on their album Unlimited Love, and it's called The Great Apes. And I love that song. You should go listen to it. And he's Anthony Kiedis is saying, like, I just want the great apes to be free. And he's talking about, like, and the great apes are us, obviously, the humans. But he's just like, superstar don't do the dishes. I just want the great apes to be free. And it's so cool because it's just like, yeah, like, if we just didn't have to like do chores or any of the things like that make us like, make life happen, we could just like create and be free and have fun and, go to the beach and like all this fun stuff. So it's like, it's very, living in this modern world, we are very free. We do have a lot of things that we don't have to, we have a lot of freedom. We have a lot of time freedom because we have all this stuff at our fingertips already. So with that being said, Om, brings you back to that present moment, to that present gratitude of life, of just like, you know what? Let's just do something awesome with this time, with this space, because we don't have it forever. It does not last forever. This body will grow old and will be done at some point. So let's just do it right, do it right the first time. And so, yeah, all in all, the oming is an amazing tool that you should try, and I'd love to hear if you do give it a shot. To wrap it up, I mean, I guess the outcome of Om I've already discussed a little bit, like feeling that inner oneness and that all-pervading oneness, that like that capital S self, where you're both within and without yourself, like you're outside of yourself on some level. It leads us to an awareness towards source, towards that big cosmic self. And with it, you can really overcome any obstacle. If you can just come back to the present, if you can remember the truth of your being, remember the truths of the universe, remember what it is that we're doing here, then yeah, you can do anything. You can truly do anything. And I'm not trying to sound cheesy in that. It's like it truly is whatever you put your mind on will grow, will, whether that's a good or a bad thing, you know. So when you need to kind of realign, recalibrate, and honestly, you know what? I'm into more of like preventative other than like reactionary message or like methods. So in order to even prevent yourself from getting to that place to begin with, it's a great thing to be meditating daily if you can. If that's too much, you know, a couple times a week, you know, where you come back, reset, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what we're going for. This is what we're doing. It's okay. Everything is fine. You know, everything is flowing. Nobody's in a rush. Nothing needs to be in a rush because it's all just unfolding ever presently. And we're here for the ride. So, yeah, I hope you found this helpful. There's obviously a lot of other mantras, and I was actually going to give you like 4 other mantras to practice, but I think this one, I think covering Om is a good start, and maybe I'll have to do another episode with some other mantras for other methods and modes and whatnot. So yeah, thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, to start your own meditation and mantra practice, I think the easiest way is to do Om. Get yourself a mala so you can keep track easily, and yeah, and just sit with it. Just sit with it and see what happens. If you do that, if you do any of those things, drop a comment or something below. Rate, subscribe, review, whatever it is that those podcasters say. But yeah, drop a comment and let me know like what happened for you or what came up for you. I'd love to hear about it. Or you can follow me on Instagram and message me on Instagram if you want to tell me about your oming experience. I am at Holistic Hatha Yoga. So find me there. All right, friends, that's all I've got for you today. Until next week, a deep bow to you and namaste, my friend. Bye.